Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Geek'd Out. I am your host, Carter Anderson. How are you guys all doing? Really glad to be back. We are back for another episode. This week, we are going to be talking about one of my favorite Marvel movies, one of my favorite superheroes, Black Panther. Okay, I love this guy so much. This movie is important for so many reasons. One major reason, because he's black, and yeah,
Right.
yeah, he black, and it's just an amazing superhero, and I don't even want to waste any time boasting about it. It's amazing. Let's get into the Black Panther. Let's talk about our first comic. Is a good friend of mine. I like this guy a lot. We're doing a lot of projects together. Give it up for Tremaine Bradley. Woo!
Yeah, you goddamn right. You goddamn right. This show getting blacker and blacker. Speaking of which, I got a Black Panther poster right over here. This is my Juneteenth wall. It's Juneteenth every day.
Oh yeah, Juneteenth 365, 24/7.
Well, thank you for having me though. I can't wait. And we have a lot of great people on this show. It only gets blacker and blacker. I love it.
It does. It does. It's like, I love that post on there. I think you might have posted it like every day I'm black, but on June 19th, Juneteenth, I'm blackity black.
Yes.
That was you.
That is so awful hearing it said out loud, but I definitely did say that. And congratulations on the new room. I see you got the Spider-Man post, the only Spider-Man that matters. God damn it, Miles Morales.
Oh, we're for sure gonna, you're gonna be on an episode of this, but we're definitely gonna do an episode about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Like because that movie was amazing. The whole thing was just put together very well, and I don't know, and I just love how much it upset white people. People
just like this movie. Just like this movie. That's why Black Panther, man, rest in peace.
Yeah, Black Panther, Spider-Man, like Jesus is black, and so is Spider-Man, okay?
Yep. Jesus had an Afro pick. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Y'all, you want some more wine or what?
I mean, we got wine, we got Hennessy. What we doing? That's so ignorant.
Our next comedian, she had me on her show back in February before shit hit the fan. Give it up for Era Juliet. How you doing?
I am doing well, and yes, my Spider-Man is black. My Lambo is blue. What was that saying? How are y'all? What's going on? What is that's not the song lyrics? Am I wrong?
It is.
That's it. That is correct.
I'm laughing because we're the only ones that know this reference. No one watching this show is gonna get that reference.
Chris is like, huh?
That's so 2008. I like to think that I'm young, but 2008 is when Barack Obama became president, and there was my president is black, my Lambo is blue. That was the thing, and now our Spider-Man is black.
Yeah, we're taking it. We're taking it all, man. I love that we took Ariel from them. I love that we took Little Mermaid. We made Little Mermaid black. I don't even give a fuck about Little Mermaid at all.
What's so funny about it is everybody's so colorblind, right? So are we really taking it? I mean, we're all the same on the inside. Like,
I don't see color. I really don't. I gotta tell you, Carter. Hey, listen, Carter. You mind if I call you Carter? Carter, listen. Okay, I really. I just think we're all people. We're all God's children. We're all just honestly, we're all just one race. So we're really, I'm kind of black too. That's kind of what I'm just trying to say here.
We're all one race, Carter. But Ariel is white. I'm sorry. We may be all one race, but not Ariel. She is white. I'm sorry. You can't have her. I don't care who Barack Obama is in relation to you. You can't have her.
Listen, okay? I mean, I've listened to Lizzo, okay? I enjoy him. I enjoy her a lot. She's a treat, She's my wife's spirit animal. She's my wife's spirit animal, okay? I call her Lizzo in the bedroom. I know that's our love language, but I just want you to know, we're all the same, but Ariel is white, and Captain America is white too. God damn it! I won't have it. I won't have it. I won't have it in this house. It's a Christian house, sir.
I love watching that. I love watching like the incels and stuff on Reddit get mad. That is just like my porn, watching that as we take everything, back.
We really are. We really are. Like when I see all of the aggression and all of the anger, all of the hate and all of the violence, I really do truly see it as for what it is. It's a Hail Mary. It's a Hail Mary. It is. It really is a Hail Mary. I was on Facebook and one of my friends posted this conversation she had with her ex-boyfriend who was a cop, and the guy was we're all like being very vocal about the police right now, and he was basically saying, I'm so sick of you guys because you're saying all this stuff and telling people that they don't need the police and it's working. And I stopped listening after he said it's working. I was like, oh shit, that means it is. He's a cop. And so if anyone knows, this shit is getting fucked up from the inside. We're fucking it up, okay? Like the system, people think that like the system is broken. It's not. It's actually working exactly the way it's supposed to be. And we are now fucking it up. We have decided to upset the establishment. And and that's really what this movie is about. Like it's about upsetting the establishment.
Yeah.
I feel like every few years there's those movies that kind of are like they weren't supposed to be the ones that upset the establishment, but Black Panther was one of them.
Yeah.
I remember that people were so mad at Black Panther, every race was and they were mad at Black people, like Hispanic people, like, why don't we have our Black Panther? I was like, y'all got the motion picture Dora the Explorer movie coming out next month. Don't worry about it. Like we were the ones making the Marvel movies the whole entire time. I was like, y'all need to fight them. This is our time. Like, I don't want you not to have someone, but that's not Black Panther's fault.
Yeah, it's they'll get one. They'll get one. First of all, there's gonna be a Blue Beetle movie, and it's gonna be fucking amazing. Hopefully. Actually, I don't know. It might be terrible.
I love when people are like, they're like, hey, what if we had a White Panther? I'm like, you have Superman. Shut the fuck up. Like, you know what I mean?
Captain America.
They're like, what about a White Panther? Like, what if we decide to do that? Yeah, Chris is right. He said a Pink Panther. I'm like, fuck y'all. Y'all had the Pink Panther since like the 40s. It's like,
so y'all got Hulk, you got Captain America, you got Scarlet Witch, you got the Black Widow, you got you got Iron Man, you got
the worst part is
president except for Obama. Like
the worst part is before we got Black Panther, what do we have? Still, we had goddamn Shaq. And y'all gonna say something else?
Yeah, we Meteor Man and Blank Man.
No, I'm just joking. I know we had Meteor Man, but it's funny to think about. We had Meteor Man, which I love Robert Townsend, but then to follow that up, we had goddamn Shaq. Shaft is a superhero. You're right.
Shaft is not a superhero.
Hey, but he was he was super as fuck.
You didn't watch Blade?
No, Blade went. You right? No. I'm talking shit. You right, but I'm just trying to say.
I just rewatched Blade and I just rewatched the old Blade and Wesley Snipes.
Oh, I say it all the time. Look, there were 2 on Fu. I tell people all the time when that motherfucking movie came out, didn't no one say shit to Wesley Snipes. Why? Because
he going in them heels.
Right, he'll whoop your ass in them heels. Not you, but I mean anybody who talking shit.
Little Latin boy in drag.
Huh?
Little Latin boy in drag.
Oh yeah, he said, you a girl. There's a lot of that movie that is kind of problematic, but the movie still is great.
Yeah.
Fantastic goddamn movie. And that's what I loved about it was that like you had Wesley Snipes. That's why people forget. They always talk about Denzel, but in the 90s, Denzel wasn't Denzel. Denzel didn't become Denzel until after Denzel had the waves on. It was in goddamn Training Day. Before Denzel, who was it? It was goddamn Wesley Snipes. There was nothing better.
Wesley Snipes is so like one thing I was watching when I watched Blade the other day was he was so, I mean, for that time, so dark.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
He was very dark for screen. Like he's not
period.
like that brown that they like to put on, like, oh, we have a black person. I mean, he was black, like he's black, like he had that black leather, and it kind of melted in with his skin, like, and I lived for it. I loved it. I was
agreed.
His skin was unapologetic.
Like, yes, I'm like, but even the way that one thing I can say about Blade, even though we're not talking about Blade, is the way that
it's Marvel.
Yeah, it is the way that it was filmed is good for like a lot of times when they film like dark actors or photograph them, they don't have people that know how to match their skin tone well. But can I say,
oh my god,
for the 90s, he looked so good in everything, every scene, I was like, okay, someone had a crush on him when they were filming that movie.
This is the thing.
They made it for him.
Era, you're so goddamn right, because this is the problem. I talked about, I don't know if it was on Carter's show, but I talk about this often. That's one of the reasons why I love Moonlight, because when you're trying to do shit in Hollywood and you're trying to make movies, this is something I used to hear in the early 2000s. The reason why black people aren't in as many movies is because it bounces off. The light just gets sucked in. It's hard to light black people. That's the excuse that they would always fucking make. But when you had Wesley Snipes in the goddamn 90s, they figured out, they lit the shit out of him. Why? Just like Era said, somebody wanted to suck that man's penis. And I'm fine with it. I'm perfectly fine with it. But this is the thing. When you have Moonlight was an art house film. They had no money, but they figured out how to light black people beautifully. And that's what takes us all the way full circle to Black Panther, because before he made Black Panther, he made a little movie called Fruitvale Station with like $20,000. Almost got a goddamn Oscar. He should have been nominated, and Michael B. Jordan should have won. Before he did that movie. Then he did Creed. Then he did Black Panther. That's his third film, got damn near $1 billion budget. Why? Because he know what the fuck he doing.
Also, what I could say, and this is a conversation not just about movies, is they found people that were yes, they're great actors, but they found people that are conventionally attractive. When it comes to putting black people on a screen, and you don't want to make it a black movie, like quote unquote, that's just for black people, you have to find people that other races are going to find attractive.
Right.
And that's all these movies do so well. You couldn't put, someone who wasn't, sexy to everybody's eye on these. It's going to be honest. Like, even when, like, if something I brought up with Black Panther, they don't make it overtly sexual in that movie, but every single person on screen is more than convincingly attractive.
But this is what I do have to say about this though, Era, because you're right. But this is one thing, and this is one thing I loved about Black Panther. I don't care who you were, and I even had that on my show. Whether you're black, brown, Puerto Rican, doesn't matter. White. There was somebody who you can attach yourself to, even if they were black. And for black people, there was somebody that you can attach yourself to. Because truth be told, I love my man, Forrest Whitaker. Forrest Whitaker's not easy on the eyes. Not easy on the eyes, brother. He's not. But every time you saw Forrest Whitaker on screen, he was fly as shit. He had dripped all purple. My dude with the lip, not very good looking, but had a clean ass lineup. My man was fresh, had the fresh 3-piece suit on. So even the people who weren't conventionally beautiful had something else about them. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, old girl that was in what happened? Go ahead.
It was the drip. It was
the drip.
You can't. That's all you can say is that movie. I was like
dripping.
Wakanda isn't even real, but I want to go. Like, the whole thing was drip. Like, even the 90s scene, like
everything
about, like, I can say when I watch Black Panther, they found really great ways of being, I can say, black and African, put it together, like, and they bottled it. It made everybody want that culture. Like, I was like, I'm American, and sometimes I get upset being not upset, but being a Black American and feeling like I don't have any relation to like an African culture, Caribbean culture. Sometimes I kind of get that way because it's like I'm Black. Like I do, like, my ancestors are further back, but sometimes I don't. Like, we don't have that culture. Like, sometimes,
Okay, and I've wanted to bring this up, and I hope y'all let me get this out, because this is something that once we do blow up, this is going to be talked about because it's true. Like, I'm arguing with somebody about that. The reason why Black Panther is such an important film, not just for Black people, but for history in general, is because whether Disney knew it, whether it was intentional or unintentionally, they dropped so many jewels about things that can draw all the way back to the Moors. So you have situations where this is the story as old as time. Like, great example, Era, her last name is Juliet. My name is, I go by Tremaine Bradley. Bradley's my middle name. My last name is Smith. All right. If you go talk to any other Caucasian or even people directly from Africa, they can tell you where their last name came from. They can draw their heritage all the way back generations. We can't. Carter Anderson cannot. Tremaine Bradley Smith cannot. Era Juliet cannot. Our name is attached to slavery. That's why it was a very important scene when Killmonger beat the shit out of what's his name? T'Challa. T'Challa. After when he beat the shit out of him, that was symbolic. And he was beaten. He was like, "Where were you all?" And they even talked about it. The reason why this shit even happened was because they left him there. He was not the villain. And this is happening today in America. That's why you have people who are of African descent, and I'm not putting them down, this is fact. That's why they hate being called African American, because they know that that is a slur and that is a complete put down. To be African American, you had to have your heritage has to come from West Africa. Why? Because it came from the slave trade. So when you look at someone like Killmonger was from Africa but didn't know his roots. Why didn't he know his roots? Because his father was killed and they left him there. He became a product of his environment. And that is exactly what's happening here in America. And that's why it was so important for this movie to be made, because it wasn't black on black. It was literally heritage fighting each other. Because even T'Challa knew, he was like, "Yo, we're fighting because of our parents. That's why I can't kill you.
And
I can't kill you because I feel you."
That's what I was trying to say is like, me being a Black American growing up, and I'm also mixed, and my last name is McGilbert, by the way. I don't go by my last name because it's an Irish slave trader name. That's I take that back. I know exactly where it goes from, and I don't relate to that last name. But what I'm saying is like we were stripped of our culture. Like, Black people here, we were stripped of our culture, and you get to see. You're talking about those scenes are so necessary and vibrant. He grew up in California. He grew up in LA, and like all
same here.
That they were stripped from. They had to build within their own, and that's what I love about Black people. That's what I love about Africans. All of them is we built stuff from nothing. They tried to take every single thing away from us. Period. Like every single thing. They tried to make sure that we did not have our last name, our culture. We don't know who our family is, but yet out of all of that, we still built something that everybody wants.
No, agreed. And that's why it was so important to show Killmonger, even though he was the quote unquote villain. I look at this to this day. You can't tell me Killmonger. You can't tell me Thanos was the enemy. Maybe towards the end of the second film, Thanos became the enemy. But Killmonger was not the enemy. He was a product of his environment. And him becoming king is more of a testament to how strong not only the Black spirit is, but the Black American spirit. Y'all beat us. Y'all broke us down. Y'all made us build this country, and yet we still overcome.
And they try to killing us within our people. So we're mad at African, or we're mad at Black people, or we're mad at this. It causes ascension between that. So, and that's what within every, that's what a colonizing mind is. And that's why, I love the jokes, but that's literally what they do when he talks about how he was in the military and that's how they would break down countries that they were going to rob, is you rob them of their culture. You rob them of their necessities. You rob them of, the things that you rob them of every single thing until there's ascension within people. When there's nothing, when there's desolation, people become desperate and they start attacking their own culture. They start attacking their own people.
It goes even further, and I'm sorry, Carter, but you did see yourself when you brought us on here. We melting as fuck. But it goes even further because when you look at things like the Moors, good point, Carter's a good point. When you look at things like the Moors, because even the Romans, people always say, "Oh, when you're doing something, oh, that's that white shit." Little did they know that it was Black people that taught them that. When you look at the Roman, we look at the what's it called, the Greek alphabet. The Greek alphabet was learned from the Moors. So when the Moors came through and they're the reason why the Dark Ages started, because they went to Europe and was like, "Y'all are doing what with your shit? You are throwing it out of a window? No, you should probably put it into a place that goes away from you." That's what got them out the Dark Ages. But they realized that the reason why the Moors lost was because the Moors was teaching people as they went. So once they got their ass whooped out in South America, they said never again. We will never do that. So they went and got books, started burning books. You've never heard of a Germanyology, but I guarantee you've heard of an Egyptology. There's a reason when you watch things like Indiana Jones. and they had the ark was hidden in that great big bunker. That bunker exists. That's why you have things like Egyptology. We have so much inner fighting because the Moors were trying to show people that we are all one person, but they realized that no, we do not want that color, and our way of life is dying. It has been before, and goddamn it, it's on its last breath now. That's why we have someone like Trump in office, because that is the last gasp of the cis white male. They know that this is over. This is all over, and Black Panther shows that. If we can get to the point where we stop fighting each other and can point the fact that, yo, this all comes from Africa. We all come from Africa. But until then, we got to worry about what's happening and got to stop Black lives from being killed. So anyways, to Carter, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So believe it or not, this actually isn't the, we're still at the beginning of the show.
You can you can cut us.
No, yeah, but we're going to go ahead and jump into our very first topic of the show, which is not just a superhero, but a king. And that is, it's not 100% the first time, because, you know, there's also Thor, you know, who inevitably becomes king of Asgard. But actually, those two, their mythologies are very, very similar. Thor and T'Challa, like, you know, they both have dads that ain't shit. We'll get into that later. We will discuss that. But yeah, they have dads that you find out, Papa was kind of a Rolling Stone. Kind of told a couple lies here and there. But one thing that's interesting about this movie is that T'Challa, he now takes on the mantle of being the protector of his country and kind of protector of the world, becomes an Avenger, and then he also becomes the king when he loses his father. And it is interesting, you know, like in Civil War, when he loses his dad, and, you know, he goes after, like, you know, the person that kills him, and, you know, he goes through all of this revenge. It's interesting because he does that, but then he doesn't feel the need to kill Claw. You know, once he like catches Claw for, like, you know, like blowing up, like, you know, his homeboy's like parents. And you know, what do you guys think of that? Like, you know, it's just
Go ahead, Era.
I think what they do is they try to humanize him, which is one thing. Yeah. One thing I do like is sometimes superheroes are a little bit unattainable when you think about, like, you know, Iron Man, Captain America. It's like unattainable. You just see them as these super beings. But one thing I did like about Black Panther is he is humanized. You watch him be broken. You watch his father die. You watch him be humanized. You watch him fall in love. You watch him be in love with a woman, which is another humanizing aspect of it. You watch him care for his people. And I think that that's one way to get him to tie to his audience first and foremost, you know, so that way we're rooting for him throughout, because you see yourself within that character. You see yourself, you know, like, you know, if that was your father, if that was you in the situation, you're like, oh, that could be me. So I do see that. He's human. He's king. He's a superhero.
Yeah, no, I think just almost to kind of piggyback off what she said. I don't know if we were on this show or we were on my show, but Era brought up the fact once that all Black Panther is Lion King, and it's a good, huh?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, but it's a great point, because you got to think, even in the beginning, he was kind of like Simba, and T'Challa was the same thing. He was like, he kind of didn't fit in what they were supposed to do, because he was like, yo, something is changing. And then when he finally like got in with because the movie starts after Civil War, so now he has gone out and really seen what happens in the real world, so his mindset is a little bit different. You see what I'm saying? So like now it's not just him being Black, and it's not just Black Panther. Now you see yourself in it. Now any character, as I said earlier, you start tying yourself, and how what Era was saying, you start seeing yourself on screen, so you can see yourself not. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Chris brings some of it happened on Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. If you haven't watched that, definitely check that out. I think it's on Disney Plus.
It's a good show. Yeah,
it's a good. It actually is a good show. But yeah, I'm very impressed that they did so many things well that I say this is the greatest movie of my generation. and it's a big statement, and I've lived through a lot, but
It's a
with
fair
so
statement.
many layers. But that's what I'm saying. I promise you, look 10, 15, 20 years from now, you're gonna peel back so many layers of this film to be like, whether they did this on purpose or not, this is like the perfect storm of just everything falling in its place.
Well, it's just one of those movies. It definitely will be one of those movies that's talked about years from now. That's like ahead of its time, but perfect. Like, like
Right.
the movie, like I bring up The Matrix and Kill Bill often,
Yes.
because they're two movies that, as far as cinematically and stylistically, they took from past movies, and then they found ways to make it awesome, and they just did like interesting elements throughout, and it's something that, like, you don't see that in a whole lot of movies now. So
Right.
I have to go back to those movies constantly and be reminded what a real good action slash drama really
Right.
is. And that's my feeling about, like, go ahead, Aria.
Well, no, one thing I was just saying is, like, there's a few, another reason why I think that they did this concept of how you're speaking is, some of the movies within like certain universes, even like DC, Marvel, they're for the people who who are involved in the comic series. Like, you have to know what's going on. But movies like Black Panther was, as I said, like, humanized or brought these storylines in, was so everybody could watch it.
Right.
And that's a Disney thing, how they do, like, princess stories, things like that. That's a very much a thing. It has ties to, that way women feel some type of way about, like, the relationship, things like that. You have people who, like, if there's family lines within it, there's
More
a bunch
relatable
of lines and things where it makes it more available for everyone. So even if you're not a part of the MCU, this is a movie you really didn't need to follow along with to honestly understand.
Right.
And I can say that even from the first, and that's why when you say it's one of the better movies of your generation, I remember when I watched Iron Man, one of the first movies when I watched, and I was not involved in Marvel whatsoever. I was like in high school with a bunch of friends, and that movie was so, it was perfect. It had,
it was great. Right, it was.
It had political issues. You learned so much politically when you're watching it. But it had romance and all these things, and I had no clue who Iron Man or anything was. And that involved me. And this is the same thing that happens with these like cornerstone like movies. They built this so everybody could get involved, where you can figure out if you wanted to go further, but you're already at a great starting point.
No, I agree.
It made everyone care. Like, they made everyone care. One thing some people don't know, I guess, is that Sony had an opportunity to buy all of Marvel's shit.
They only wanted Spider-Man
for like, what was it, $10 million or something?
It was something ridiculous.
Something like, it was like a really good sale. It was like one of those sales, like they were selling Bentleys for $50 yesterday. Damn.
It's like, come on, I'll give you Bentley and I'll suck your dick, please. It was one of them sales.
It was a really ridiculous sale, but Sony was just like, no thanks. We'll just take Spider-Man for $2 million because no one gives a shit about all these other characters. Yep. And
they had Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, and thank the gods. Yes, I agree, Chris. Yeah, but yeah, they really, I'm sure they're kicking themselves every single day for that.
No, but and everything is funny, regardless of what we believe in. Everything does, in my opinion, happens for a reason. There was no way Sony would have been able to do half.
Wouldn't have been able to handle it.
They wouldn't have. You had to just look at the times. Everything had to happen the way it did, because a lot of people forget. They think it started with Iron Man, but technically it started with Ant-Man. It was like Ant-Man was a property way before, and it was attached. I can't remember the guy's name that did Shaun of the Dead, but they were attached because they were going to create a whole like universe around the Hulk. And so like they were going to do this whole big thing, and that's why they decided to like, put that scene at the very end of the Hulk where Tony Stark walks in, and he's like talking to the general or whatever the guy's name, because they were like, oh, we're going to do this whole connected universe thing. But everything worked out perfectly with goddamn Iron Man, and we have this. But like you said though, Era, this could have been in its own thing. And that's what old boy that made the movie, I can't remember his name, Ryan Coolidge, I believe his name is. He was like, if I do this, I have Coolidge, I can't remember. I mean, great guy. He said, if I do this, I have to be able to do this my way. and whoever signed off on it was smart, because there's so many aspects of this film that makes it great outside of the fact it's just a good film. You break down the characters, you break down the storyline, you break down the mythology, you break down even all the way the opening scene where everything it started in Africa is like everything.
That whole little story.
Everything.
Perfect.
And truth be told, if you look at the story of the Moors and you just decide, well, what if the Moors decided to keep all of their knowledge? You have the story of Black Panther. There's so much genius that goes into like shit that's not even said. It's just like either you get it or you don't. Like if the Moors decided when they were taking over, you know what? I'm not going to teach these people. In fact, we don't got to take over anything. We're gonna watch it as it happens, and we just gonna chill back here and just gonna sit on all of our knowledge and all of our wealth. That's why it was so deny the inferiority. I mean, it was the thing is Marvel did such a good job in showing what the Black American goes through, because it's happening right now. And you can't put it into words unless you're Black, unless you grew up in America. That's why it's so heartbreaking when you have these people from different countries playing these strong Black roles, but then they come out and say awful shit. Because it's like when the guy who played in 12 Years a Slave, Chiwetel Ejiofor, love him to death, but he was like, yo, I'll be honest, I did not grow up in America, so I don't understand that level of racism. I don't understand that. So, and he was honest about it, because you have to live here to feel that.
The lady who braids my hair, she's African, she's in Nigeria, and recently with everything that was kind of going on, I went to go get my hair braided a couple weeks back, and she had only lived in America for the last like 3 years, and she said she had no clue it was this bad. Like she was learning even though she's African, she was learning our American history of the ways that we were taught, and the ways that things that have happened to her, and she had no clue that this is what we had gone on. She just thought that they came, like, you come here and this is the dream, like this is already what happens, and everything that we're building is kind of the problems that we're creating. And she had absolutely no clue that, it was kind of built on we've been built on these foundations of, the literal racism is built on the foundations of us. Like she had absolutely no clue. And that's kind of, what brings up to in Black Panther, when T'Challa did have no clue what Killmonger anything was going. And they just thought that he was, the way that he was treated, it's the way that the Americans treat Black men here. Black man with no father, he's a criminal. Black man with no father, he's aggressive, he's a criminal. And that's the way that they thought. They were like, look at him, who is he coming into our house? Like we have our heritage, we have our if they knew who their family were, all this stuff, and they're sitting here judging someone and had no clue what he had actually been through, not just with his family, because he was a part of their family and his own family messed with him, but also like within the system, he had no father, he was left alone, he was abandoned, then he was taken to, he was in the military and was completely turned into a killing machine. And that comes from the fact that he'd been abandoned. He had no sense of his, he had no emotions. He'd been left completely emotionless, had no family, ties to him. And it kind of shows the parallels between T'Challa and Killmonger. T'Challa was able to grow up with his family. His mother was still there. His sister was still there. You watch his familial bonds. You watch him, how he interacts with women. He respects women. He respects his mom, his sister. The woman who's been his life. You watch him, how he's a diplomat. You watch him, regardless of, everything that happened to his father, he still knew how to interact with these people because of the way that he was brought up education-wise. And then you watched Killmonger, how he absolutely had nothing. He was stripped, and on a system that was built against him, he still rose up, but he had such a big, heavy chip on his shoulder because everybody had left him. His own people, his own family.
But see, and that's kind of where, go ahead, Carter.
I was going to say, everything bad about Killmonger is because of white America. Like
but it takes it a step further. It's like they're basically saying, what if great African knowledge knowingly decided not to give this knowledge to anybody, meaning that it won't even trickle down to other people who look like them. You see what I'm saying? And so he came up in a system that was already against Black people, But then also he got to hear stories because remember his dad died. It wasn't like his dad died when he was like 4. His dad died when he was like closer to like 10 or 11. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like 9, 10 or 11. So he remembers hearing stories of the motherland. But that's the thing. A lot of Black Americans, and we say Black Americans because we understand, a lot of us understand that African American, just the term is just racist. It's just ripped in racism. But that's why a lot of Black Americans have that rage. And it wasn't until I dated someone who lived in Eritrea and broke it down for me. She said Black Panther, or they said Black Panther was such a big deal for them because the fight scene between T'Challa and Killmonger was like true. You can see somebody who's like diplomatic, trying not to kill somebody, trying to be like, hey, let's talk this out, because this is how he was raised. He was raised to be, straight down the middle. He was raised to be as kind as you can, to work with a firm hand, but try to be diplomatic. Whereas Killmonger wasn't given anything, and his father was taken from him. He even said it. I grew up, I knew that it was them because my dad told me who they were, and I saw the panther claws in my dad's chest. So in his mind, that's what he grew up with, was that, yo, you're the reason why I don't have anything. So when we fight, that's why we fight with the rage and the pain and of all of our ancestors. And a lot of Africans don't understand that. Why? Because they can trace their lineage all the way back to their original tribe. We cannot. So when Killmonger was fighting him, he was trying to kill him with every blow. That's why he picked him up, made him look at all the people from his homeland and was like, this is your king, and threw him over to show that, yo, we were fucking grinded into the ground and none of y'all came back to get us. Y'all knew where we were, but no one came and got us. So this is what we have to deal with. We can't go home because we don't have no home. So this is what we're doing now. And it was a beautiful scene because that is exactly being Black in America today.
I feel like that fight was also a struggle within himself. Like it was more than just that fight, but I feel like it was that internal fight that he had. Am I Black? Like he was fighting the way that he's there's so much put on us, like how we're supposed to act. There's so much put on us, like who we are, like in the media, who we are. And it's just kind of watching him. He had an internal, I feel like Killmonger had this internal struggle. His dad told him when he was growing up, they're not going to accept you. They're not going to be, you can tell that there were times he was trying to, you saw him cry when he saw his father in his dream. He wanted to be who his father wanted him to be. He thought
I wanted to jump into that a little bit. So he becomes king. Killmonger becomes king. He wins the fight. He wins it real good. And then he gets buried into the area to see the land of his ancestors. And in that moment, they don't even let him in then. They don't even let him. He's still
no. There's more to that. And I don't mean to cut you off, but there's more to that. It's not that he wasn't let in. They go to what they believe is their land of the ancestors. That's why if you look through the window, you can see Africa, but he had never been there. So his idea, that's why he came back to Oakland, because we have no home. We have to go back here. Whereas T'Challa went back to his homeland. That's why it looked like, that's why he saw his ancestors. But who did his son see? He just saw his dad. Why? Because he doesn't know of his ancestors.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what makes it so sad. Right. It's everything about like Killmonger is one because of white America and because they fucking left him. I think if T'Chaka had killed his brother, but then taken the boy home and explained why he had to do it. Your father was an extremist, son. Okay? That's not what we do here. If he could have explained it, he could have made Killmonger he wouldn't have been Killmonger, Right. He would have been a part of something. And now that guy, he never really got to grow up. At least not in an ideal way anyway.
No, and also you said something, a big thing. That's why I remember when T'Challa went back, when he saw his ancestors, he was full grown. But when Killmonger saw his dad, he was a child again.
Yes.
He never got to grow up. He had to fight his entire life, whereas T'Challa got to grow up, had his father there. He knew his ancestors. He knew his background. He knew his story. Like, bro, there's so much. That's why I say it's a masterpiece. And this is me being biased, but as a black male going through this shit, and I know we all black, but it's like, it's even this. Y'all been in the South. I came from California. Like, even that, like, we didn't have, like, we had Jim Crow, but not like that. So it's like, when I came to the South, I almost didn't even feel like I belonged, because people were looking at me like, you ain't from here. And it was different.
It's a thing, especially out here in Texas. People will often, like, we're a very exclusive state. Like, we really believe that we're our own place. Like, we're honestly, if we could get that dome from Wakanda, we would put it all over Texas. Like,
I agree.
Texas. And yeah, we wouldn't let anyone out. You can't have our vibranium, and you can't have our Whataburger.
No, you're right. That's why I feel like I belong now. I've been here for so long, and it's like, I know this place. I know this place almost better than I know Cali now. So that's why, even though I love California, I'll never leave Texas. And I almost feel like that's kind of where Killmonger got at the very end when he died. He was like, yo, it's so beautiful. It's because he finally got to let that anger go and just truly be submerged. Being here in Texas now, in the beginning, it was scary as fuck. But now that I know how my people are out here, I'm good wherever. And I feel like that.
I feel like none of y'all have mentioned the King M'Baku here.
Haven't.
It's such a disservice, because he deserves his own film. He is, first of all, comedic relief, which I love, because that's really what Black people usually are within movies, is create comedic relief. And they played him as, I mean, he played so much comedic relief within the show. But we're talking about someone who knew not just a super, but also a king. He loved his people too. Like, you watch how he didn't agree with the way that Wakanda was being ran. And it kind of reminds me of also going back to, like, how that is also dissension within Black people, not just like African and Black, but there's also dissension within, like, older Black people. I feel like in this new generation that comes up, like, you know, my aunts and uncles, my grandparents, they are so upset with just by the way that the younger generation carries themselves within our Black culture. Some of the things, you know, some of the things that we do, like, you know, because Wakanda was very progressive. But if you go to where M'Baku lives, they're still living very old, very desolate. I'm not desolate, I would say. Like, his kingdom is beautiful, but they're not modern.
Remember, he's outside of Wakanda. Remember, he said, like,
but they were all within that. They used to be all in the same thing.
Right.
So I'm saying, you compare those kingdoms.
Right, I agree though.
As Wakanda was progressive.
Right.
And that's what I kind of would feel like a lot of, you know, like Black people within our culture, we're trying to be this more progressive culture. There's a lot of stuff that we do that I can say that my aunts, uncles, grandparents are not about. Don't want to even have the discussion. It is how it is. Like, I consider, like, M'Baku's side old heads, but when it comes down to it, you know, when it comes down to the people that came out and they had that argument. But what I love also about M'Baku, not just because he's 6'7", thick-thighed, fine as hell, he is a family man. You see, when I love when one of my favorite scenes, and we talked about it in your show, Tremaine, is when the mother, Angela Bassett, with her beautiful white dreads, she's coming there and she's, like, you know, asking him to take the flower, and he is so protective of someone's mother who is not his own, because he's respectful. That to me is also so, like, I think that was a big scene there. It's big of him because M'Baku did fight him. You know what I mean? Like, there's always been issues, but because T'Challa fought him. He looks past that. You know, he's a king before he is, the person that he is. I like that, but I think that there's a lot to be said between those two kingdoms as well. Instead of just, you know, not just comparing within, you know, Wakanda and America, there's so much to say between the difference between those two kings. First of all, like, and I also can see, like, once again, he's made for comedic relief, but I just see a lot of how they always talk about like a toxic masculinity or just like that big black man scared to show emotion. I see those two differences that they tried to build within both of those kings as well, with T'Challa and
Right.
M'Baku. They tried to do it based on how I feel like people would see black people. You know, they're aggressive.
No, you're right.
This big black man, you already have your mind made up. He's scary. He's aggressive, but then you see him getting to, you know, be funny, silly. We're vegetarians. We don't eat you. Like, I love that they downplayed him. You see him at the end getting to fight for his people, being soft, compared to the way that they try to build him, you know?
I think to piggyback off, go ahead, Carter.
I was gonna say, I feel like we established that kind of earlier than people realize, because you know I've watched the movie about 4 times in the past like 3 months, and the last time I watched it, I looked at like that first fight that they have, where like, I mean, M'Baku is getting in them shots. He's whooping that ass real hard, and then finally, really all that happened there was that T'Challa isn't necessarily the stronger fighter or the faster fighter. He's just an opportunist. He sees one opportunity the entire fight to win, and he just scoops in and gets him. And then he has the opportunity to kill him, but he's like, please yield. He's like, I'd rather die. He's like, but then he says, what about your people? They need you. And for me, that's what humanizes him. He's like, I need to lose right now so that I can win for people.
That pride issue. He would have rather died than to have them. M'Baku was willing to die at first, even though he was. I mean, he's this big, like he's a huge champion. He was willing to die at first because he didn't want to be seen as a loser.
But then he was able to let that go and be strong.
This is something that doesn't come up enough, and I think it should, to kind of piggyback off of what Era was saying. People forget when the dad died, like a lot of that was being ran by women. You know what I mean? Like, yes, you had T'Challa. He became king instantly, but he had a really like attachment to his mom. You know what I mean? That's why he was so close to his sister. You got to see, almost without them saying it, it was more the metro, the more feminine, and that's what I kind of understand that, because I grew up really close to my mother too. That's why he fought so hard when it came to the women in his it's very matriarchal. I agree. It's like the women hold it down, huh?
I think that's one of the good things I really do once again like about this movie is there was no heavy sexualized parts on either
Agreed.
side. For male or women on that, and it just showed general respect of honestly how I think that we should be. You know, they're always sexualizing our culture regardless. There's always male or female.
Right.
Yeah. There are our cultures we're always being sexualized.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get into the next topic of the show. I think we'll have a lot of fun with this one. Dads in Marvel ain't shit. I think it's very true. Like, it seems to be a rule. Yeah, dads in Marvel ain't shit, and then dads in DC die. That's a big one. Like, they always die. That's the whole family dies in Marvel, like, in DC. At least in Marvel, you got a chance that like maybe someone's gonna like make the cut. But yeah, it seems like, you know, I was talking earlier about the parallels between Thor and T'Challa. Like they have very similar mythologies. One of them is that you find out after their dads die that they were a bit dishonest about one or two things, had a couple other things going on that, and you know, I'm sure we can definitely get into that a little bit here. You know, what did you guys think about like all of these things that T'Chaka kept from, like, not only from his family and from his son, but from his entire country, and I guess from the UN as well?
Go ahead, get it.
Yeah, sure.
I was like, I think that I totally agree with that, especially in Black Panther. On both sides, you see Killmonger's dad being an extremist, not kind of lying to his son there, involving his son, and kind of like his son was kind of there when they were doing these deals, like, you know, with the guns and stuff involved in the house. And then you do see, straight up lot like their family doesn't straight even know that they have a nephew. He killed his own brother. It goes back to like a Cain and Abel type thing.
Yeah.
It's Black Panther really does have some I would say some daddy issues here. I'm trying to think of there was the scene kind of like with the I think that why that's so interesting is because how we were talking earlier, how all of the women are kind of the warriors in this
yes.
I mean, not kind of. The women are the warriors.
They are the warriors, yeah.
And it shows you a society where, I mean, they knew that, I mean, men weren't shit in this movie. So this is kind of where women kind of rose up and helped make the men better, I can say.
Do you think that that's why they had women as the warriors, is because they knew that if they left it to the men that they were going to kind of fuck it up?
I think that it was very progressive. I don't think that was the purpose. I think that it was to show progression. Okay. In most, I'm not going to just say in Black culture, but I mean, in most, like I would say ethnic cultures, women are made to be more of a submissive type role. The men are the male of the household. But even though you do see in a lot of, as I said, people of color relationships, they grow up with that. I mean, grow up without a father. I don't have a father. That's common. And women are these are the super moms. These are the ladies that are, I mean, doing mom and dad job roles, but building these, I mean, they're making kings, they're making warriors. They've made a whole, they literally built a whole civilization where when it's just women running shit, you see how the relationships are completely different. You see how literally, I mean, we got the woman-like scientists here building all your weapons, building your whole bodysuit, fueling the whole country's way of living. And that's without a dad. That's without, and that's with women straight up just, she sees these beautiful, bald women out here doing shit and she wants to be a scientist. T'Challa is a better woman because he sees, I can't think of Lupita Nyong'o's character, but he's a better man because Lupita Nyong'o's in his life. When he sees her sitting there trying to save the woman, he's a better man for it. So yes, Marvel dads ain't shit. The women had to be shit with the movie in order for the country to progress. That country was 100% stronger because women were in the forefront.
It's funny because both situations were situations where the man tried to make. See, that's the thing. In both of these movies, the men respected their women, and I really appreciate that. So the women wasn't made to be like the complete submissive that we're normally used to seeing in movies, but you still had men trying to man some shit up. Where it's like, I got this crazy secret, and I'm not gonna let my wife know. I'm gonna handle it myself because I'm a man. I'm a man myself. I'm gonna hold myself down. And what did you do? You literally in Thor, that whole Asgard is no more. There's no more Asgard. Asgard gone. It's gone. And in Black Panther, technically, Killmonger became the king. He was the king. Yeah. And it was all because of a lie. He could have told his wife, "Look, hey, I had to kill my brother, and he was wilding. I probably shouldn't have left him there that long," because that's really what that comes down to too. They were on that mission, and the brother felt like they didn't care, because that's the thing. Remember, because he was talking to the king, and he was like, "Y'all know what's happening here, but y'all aren't living here. They are killing our people." So it wasn't that he just lied to his son. He told his son the truth. He was like, "Son, we have the technology so that we can live like kings here. And we have the technology to save lives, but they won't let us give it out." And that's why, going back to M'Baku, why he was so dope, the reason why they left were because they were like, "Why are we the only ones who get to hold all this knowledge? No, fuck that. We're not going to be a part of y'all. We're going to go live up here." And that's why when they fought almost with every single punch, had all kind of strength. They weren't like T'Challa and them. They were like smooth. They were trying to be like a cat. Whereas when M'Baku was swinging, he and that's why when they were hitting people, when they were fighting, they had them big ass sticks and they was knocking people out by the like tens, because they were of the mindset of, yo, we shouldn't be holding all this knowledge too. And this goes back to what Era said earlier. You have fights going within every race, but especially in the Black race, where it's like there was probably Africans, people in Africa who were like, yo, for years, we know they over there. We have the ships. We have all of this. We can go over there and free them. And other people were like, hey, that ain't our problem no more. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what Wakanda was. It's like, hey, what's happening in the rest of the world? They not on us.
Two other Marvel dads that I always like to say, since we're talking about Marvel dads ain't shit.
Star-Lord's dad?
Hulk's dad.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
well, he put him in the right.
I mean, he created a literal monster, and I think I mean literally.
Literally a monster.
But Iron Man and Hulk's dad also kind of show what happens with, I would say, toxic masculinity. Fathers who don't like to communicate with their children, abusive type relationships. You go back in Civil War and you watch how the father regarded Robert Downey. Why can't I name his name? Iron Man's character. You watch how he couldn't even tell his son, "I love you." You watch that, and that does kind of build this character where they're always prove they're better than their dad. That they're always trying to be better, and there's really no emotion into what, like, nothing is good enough for them. That's why, I mean, at the end of it, why Tony can't stop fighting, like why when his wife is like, Pepper Potts, obviously at the end of it, when she's like, they wanted to have this life, they have a kid and all this stuff. At the end of it, he's still fighting to show his dad he's a better person. That he's literally still fighting to show that, like, I'm better than you. I built all this stuff than you. I have a heart. I care about, he fought for that. And it's also the same thing I can say, about the Hulk. The Hulk watched his dad literally abuse his mom. He watched that. He was the subject of abuse. And that's why he's so scared of his power. He doesn't like to get angry. He doesn't want to, why he hates his power, because it comes from a place of him, how he watched his father abuse his mom, how he watched that abuse stuff happen to him. He doesn't like being himself because it comes from a place of hurt. And he tries to use his anger to, and he tries to use that to, be better, better person, be better than that voice, better his father. But at the end of it, all of these Marvel characters are showing you what, I would say happens when you don't have that, aren't able to have that communication, when you aren't able to just be open with your familial unit.
Hey, but Era, this is true too, because this actually goes a step further what you were talking about with Tony's dad, with Howard. That's why Tony gravitated so much to Peter Parker, because Peter's parents, before they passed away, Peter's dad was the exact same way, but he was just all in with the smarts. But it was just like he didn't tell no one shit. And just at the very end, it was just like, hey, y'all, we gotta go. Well, what happened? We'll talk about it later. It's a job that I got and it went south. I'm sorry I didn't tell y'all, but we got to leave now. You see what I'm saying? And the same shit happened with Star-Lord. That's why Star-Lord, people to this day, I can't be mad at Star-Lord, because just like Killmonger, Star-Lord's technically like 10 years old. He never got to grow up. One, he didn't get to grow up. And the whole time he was growing up, his mom got cancer. We end up learning was because of his dad. That's kind of fucked up too. And then also, he when his whole childhood, his mom was dying. Then his mom died. Then the what's it called, the spaceship came and took him. That's why it was beautiful, where he was like, yeah, that might be your that it might be your daddy, but that ain't your pappy, boy. I love that shit. It almost like choked me up.
That was a really beautiful scene.
It was a beautiful scene, because it was like, hey, I know I didn't look like you, and I know I couldn't give you exactly what your father, because we don't see each other the same, but I showed you love. And that was true. He showed him love. He even though he was killing everybody else, he was like, hey, look, this is compassion for someone that you love. That's why I was, even though we're not even talking about that, I'm sorry, but it's true. Era brings up a good point. Pretty much every person in the MCU has a shitty relationship with their father.
And
a lot of times,
it's just the issue. I was just gonna say,
agreed, that is true.
Problem is, there are dads that I know they love their kids. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
I would say that pretty much most of the Marvel dads love their children very much. I mean, Howard Stark gave everything to Tony. He really did. He left him the keys to the fucking chocolate factory. He by the way, unpopular opinion, I enjoy Iron Man 2 very much.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Okay, whatever. All right, okay, whatever. I think what
the whole time.
Wait, Aaron, what'd you say?
Yes.
The whole fact that Howard gave Tony everything and Tony was still unhappy. He didn't have a relationship or the family support that he needed. He was given everything, money. He was given everything that was necessary. But you watch all the whole Iron Man and throughout the MCU, nothing is good enough for Tony. His relationships, that he doesn't know how to communicate. He always thinks because of the actual real things that he was lacking. And that shows what kind of goes on in these type of familial situations where families, yes, they can give their children everything except the things that they need, which is love, communication, and support. Yeah, you can give them. He gave them the whole keys of the kingdom, but we watch Iron Man's character grow because he started developing these relationships. Yes, they're superheroes, but he developed all the relationships that he never had as a child. When you watch that,
and it's. But I was saying, like, more than anything, what Howard gave like Tony was the technology and the knowledge to truly become Iron Man, but unfortunately didn't give him the knowledge and the ability to become a good father. Luckily, Tony figured that out for himself, and he figured out there's this one meme that's been circulating where Tony couldn't put a suit of armor around the entire world, which is what Age of Ultron was about.
Right.
He put a suit of armor around his world. So you see Pepper Potts with the suit, and you see his daughter with the suit, and then you see Rhodey with the suit, and then Peter with the suit.
Also taking it a step further, because he even said this, he was like, Pepper, I'm leaving it all to you. You're better than me. And everybody, he even told Cap, you're better than me. He knows that's why he fights so hard, because he doesn't feel that highly about himself, because he never was able, in his mind, he was never able to reach good enough for his father. That's all he wanted, but he couldn't get the attention. Little did he know it was because his dad was trying to set him up with something else. But still, that doesn't make up for lost time. And he knew that being in his daughter's life wouldn't save her life. That's why he gave his life, because he knew the people around her, hey, I love you 3,000. You want cheeseburgers? Everybody, every single person around his daughter is going to make sure. That's why I hope soon we're going to get her meeting up with Suri, because Suri, because that ends up happening. That she ends up becoming, wearing the Iron Man suit, because she ends up being one of the smartest people in the whole Marvel universe. So I hope that they end up taking that story that way. But
I'm sure they'll move that. That'll be phase 8 or something like that.
I thought that the other one was going to be what was it? Captain Marvel's black friend, the girl, her daughter. She's supposed to be Captain Marvel's.
That would be cool.
You know what I'm talking about? She's because she's.
Oh yes. She's smart as well. I don't know if she's becoming, if she ends up wearing the Iron Man suit, but I think she has abilities, because it's her and Luke Cage. They are. No, not Luke Cage. I take that back. I'm sorry. I'm talking about something totally different. Never mind.
Yeah, but I was I know that she's supposed to end up being. She's supposed to end up being hero. But one thing also we're talking about Marvel Dad's Ape shit is, so majority of the the people throughout the MCU and on the Avengers all have these toxic relationships with their father. T'Challa was the only one who got to know his father throughout his childhood, and you watch him, he's also a king. He's dignified. He knows how, it shows kind of the parallels of how he, how he didn't want to kill M'Baku, how we think about that. He has that humanized side, because he's not really fighting for the same things that they're fighting for. But
that almost killed him though too.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, it does. But he's not fighting for. I would say the same things that they had to fight for. His kind of demons come from something else. But it's interesting to watch him, because everybody, once again, how we're talking about how we think that T'Chaka is perfect, and then we see him kill his own brother. And that's kind of that's kind of disheartening. That's something that allows him to obviously it shook his world. He lost against his own cousin, even though he's an old king. It shook his whole world to someone that he had worshipped and kind of seen his whole life as a perfect king. He watched him murder his own brother and leave his cousin there. That's kind of a big deal there too. How it affected him within that short moment, I would say.
I love, really quick, I just because Eric brought it up. I love the fact that, because I've never really seen it. I love the fact that we got to technically watch someone like watch their demons wrestle them down, because like Era said, he for all intents purposes had a good life. It didn't really have those demons. He had his father, he had his mother, he had all these great things. He didn't even know Killmonger existed. And then all of a sudden Killmonger's here, and that's like, yo, your dad created something so long ago that you got to deal with now. And you didn't know, you didn't have to wrestle with it. It is slapping you in the face, and now you need to wrestle with the fact that your hero was kind of a bad person. Not that bad, but kind of bad.
You see the worlds that you see, both the worlds his father created. You see Wakanda, this beautiful whole kingdom. I mean, where everything works well within itself, and then you see Killmonger, another another issue that his father created. And when they obviously intersect, it's like oil and water. It's just the ugly side of things.
Right.
Well, the thing about all of the Marvel movies is that at the end of the day, they all end up being about accountability. It's something that they always try and avoid. Captain America, he talked and preached a pretty good game about accountability, but he really spent the entire movie trying to avoid it and trying to get his friend to avoid it as well. And then, the same thing with T'Challa's father. He tried to just walk away with it, omit it. And it's not something that you can really get away with. Even if you don't live to see the consequences of it, someone that you care about very much will.
Oh, Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
All of them. It's all about accountability. That's funny. That's every single one of them.
And it always ends up being the dad's fault. That's why like no one gives a shit about Father's Day. No one at all gives a shit about Father's Day.
Right. Because of Marvel movies.
And Marvin Gaye's dad also. But
hey, unpopular opinion, Marvin was tripping. And I think that's why Marvin gave his dad that gun, because Marvin knew Marvin was tripping, and he was like, you're going to have to save me from myself. And that's what happened. He was tripping, and he was about to go after his mother. That's a whole nother conversation, but you almost opened the can there, brother. But yes, Marvin was tripping, and he took him.
Okay. All right. Well, now we're... Yes, the next episode will be about Marvin Gaye, not about his music or anything, but just about him getting shot by his father. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to take a look at a quick commercial. Take a look at this. Were you in a bad superhero movie? Don't worry, I got you covered. I'm Carter Anderson, actor attorney, and I fight for you. And if you were in a crappy superhero movie, you're entitled to a better superhero movie. That's how superhero movies work. But don't take my word for it, see for yourself. Chris Evans was in Fantastic Four back in 2005. Boom, now he's Captain America. Michael B. Jordan was in Fantastic Four back in 2015. Boom, now he's Killmonger. Also, if you see a shooting of a Fantastic Four movie, you are legally allowed to make a citizen's arrest. Ryan Reynolds was in Green Lantern back in 2011. Boom, now he's Deadpool. Need I say more? I fight for people that can totally fight for themselves. Call now. So no phone number, no website, no email. Just but make sure to call now anyway. Okay, you'll find them. You'll find them. Also, guys, if you're enjoying what we're doing, if you're enjoying all of the hilarious nerdy commentary on Black Panther, and really enjoying what we're doing out here on Geek'd Out, send us your money. Okay. You think that this very small apartment is free? It isn't. It isn't. It costs like a couple $100 at least. Make sure to send money at Venmo at BL Comedy, or you can do it on a Cash App. That's a big $, Big Laugh Comedy. All donations will be divided between the talent and the production team. Please send us your money. Now we're going to move on to our third topic of the day, which is strong Black female cast. We've talked about this kind of a lot already, but kind of not specifics per se. But Jesus Christ, when you talk about, I mean, that's one thing that Marvel tends to lack a little bit in, well, definitely a strong Black female cast, but even a female cast in general in their Marvel movies. Not as much. But in this one, Angela Bassett, pretty much the whole cast. Like it's amazing. Like they hold down the entire country, and it's just amazing to see. So I mean, I don't even need to say anything. Era, you got anything for us? Any opinions about that?
Yes. First and foremost, what makes me excited about this cast was dark-skinned women. Dark-skinned women on screen. Every single time when people say, but we did have a Black woman on screen, we did have a Black, it's always a woman that is racially ambiguous or someone who's passable or just a light-skinned woman that makes it more palatable for other types. Every single woman who was strong and beautiful on this movie was dark skinned. And for me, that was exciting because I don't see women who look like me a lot on television. And if I do, they're either evil or they're sleeping with someone, they're a Jezebel figure, or something like that. You don't get to see women being powerful, strong, not submissive or being used. I mean, we had Lupita Nyong'o, we had Letitia Wright, Angela Bassett, who's been a queen for generation. I mean, she plays a amazing role every single decade of my life. I have 8 or 9 roles that I can just throw out that have changed my life that Angela Bassett has done in different levels. That there's different reasons why she's amazing in each of these films. So yes, they came and did this thing. Like when it came to the women,
they showed up for it. Like
they showed up.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. Like we were talking a little bit about this before, like them having issues with lighting Black characters in movies. I did theater throughout college, and that would always be their thing for me. I got to do like a lot of roles. Like I got to do a lot of stuff, but they would always say like, man, we can't light you because you're too tall and Black. And like, we don't even have your foundation. You're going to have to like go like online to find your foundation. And I know like I did that to myself moving to West Texas to go to school. Definitely were other options. But it's just truly beautiful to like see they went above and beyond for this movie. Like they pulled out all of the stops, and they really wanted to tell Black women's story. They weren't necessarily the 100% focus of it. Obviously it was all kind of about T'Challa, but they were the support system.
But for me, if I can be honest, for me, like, even though it wasn't about them, it was about them. Like, if they weren't there, the story wouldn't have carried. Literally, the whole end is Lupita Nyong'o, Letitia Wright, literally, killing in the name of. They're out there. T'Challa's in here getting, he's getting choked out, and here's the women out here sacrificing themselves for the good of their country. You watch, I can't remember the character she plays, but she plays opposite of the guy who's in Get Out. She's his woman.
Oh, yeah.
And out there, she was like, you may be fine and everything, but my country comes first. I'm like,
yeah, the lady from Walking Dead. Here's the thing.
Who almost made me want to shave my head again. I shaved my hair 4 years ago, and that was a feat. But rewatching that, I was like, I might want to shave my head again. She kind of brought that's another thing we talked about on your show, Tremaine, was when it comes to Black women again, people always want to police our hair. People always want to police like how we can look, what makes us beautiful. We have to have these, European type wigs, or we have to look a certain way to be, as I said, to be, attractive to other people. They had women with literally no hair on this movie, which is such a big deal to me, that looked so gorgeous, and they were still very feminine, and they had a way of making these women be so bold and so strong, but yet soft and feminine. Like everything about them to me was feminine. Like I didn't feel like I was watching some aggressive character. That's something, as I said, we're policed, especially dark-skinned women, we're policed. I'm always being told that people are intimidated by me, or I'm aggressive or something, because I'm a 5'9", dark-skinned, big woman. Like that's all I'm told. And sometimes I feel like I have to be extra hard to look feminine to other people. And just watching this really kind of was like, for me, a big like F you to that. Like I can really do exactly look however I want. I don't know, that for me, it was just like so many levels of it. It was like beauty standards, microaggressions that are set against women, things like that. And they played off every single one of those so well. that kind of just made you want to say F you to those norms, like F you to those microaggressions and things that you're told. So.
If you really think about it, because we haven't brought this up and I think it's very important.
Go for it.
The whole movie wouldn't have been pushed forward if it wasn't for women. And I mean, like every single act of the whole movie. You got to think, even the bad guys, like to what's it called? Killmonger got to what's it called? Get that stuff from what's it called? The museum.
From,
the museum because of the woman set that up. You know what I mean? And if we're also talking about T'Challa, he died, remember? And he what's it called? And M'Baku was like, hey, a couple of the women, they saw him and they grabbed him out. And if it wasn't for the mom being like, look, I'm going to swallow my pride. Fuck everything that happened. We need him, otherwise Wakanda is done. So she went against everything. Yeah, that's what Wakanda calling. It was like, yo, we in this. But that's the thing. She went against everything to be like, hey, I'm gonna save my son because it's ultimately gonna save Wakanda. If we talk about Shuri, excuse me, she made all the stuff, everything. She made everything that was being used in all the battles. You know what I mean? And she saved what's his name? The Hobbit. She saved his life.
Yeah,
no Hobbit.
Martin Freeman.
Yeah, Hobbit. Yeah, exactly. She saved his life. So all the women were saving lives all across the whole movie.
Yeah, they were just sort of the silent heroes, like pretty much. Like the things that kept progressing, like the story along. Like they were the ones that kept everything afloat, you know, like that. You need those characters that like keep the story going, and that's what they were doing. Like, I mean, the general, Jesus, she was just a badass the entire time. She was a badass in Infinity War as well. She did amazing, and in Endgame as well. Like, you know, I love that, like, you know, she still got to be a part of the Avengers, like even after, like, you know, everyone like turned to dust and shit. Like, you know, you saw them, like, you know, still keeping Wakanda under control even after they like temporarily lost, like, you know, half their people for like 5 years.
Right. Yeah. And I love how when you really think about it, in the very first scene, she saves his ass. Remember? Because she was like, when you see her, you're gonna freeze. He's like, I never freeze. And then he froze up. And then out of nowhere, the other guy was coming about to shoot him, and then she came and she killed him and was like, "See, you do freeze." It's like
she's intuitive. Like, she knows what he needs even before he needs it. Like, he's like, no, you don't have to come. I can do it myself. Okay. I'm going to go and check on you anyway.
And still came and saved his ass. That's what I'm saying. I love that movie, and I love that Era brought it up, because the women not only are they the true forces, they're the reason why we got the W anyway. Any man who got a W in that film came because of a woman.
I mean, everything was built because of her. Like, everything, nothing would exist if it weren't for her. Like, even Black Panther's outfit, everything that's cool about him, even Killmonger's little outfit after he gets it, that's Shuri. That's her drip. The shoes, everything about her, like Shuri.
She's amazing. She's like every single like scientist in the James Bond movies combined into one.
But I love how cool she made her. Like, she was so cool. She wasn't nerdy at all. She was just like this cool Black girl, like, which you don't really get to see, quirky. It's like a stereotype you really don't get to see in a Black female. She's like quirky, scientific, but also really sweet and funny. Like, her dynamic with her and like T'Challa, like brother sister dynamic, is so cute. Like, it's just it just makes you miss, like, for me, like, I have an older brother and I have 2 younger brothers. Like, watching that makes me just think of makes me miss my siblings. Like, you just watch it and you're like, oh, like that. Yeah. You know, she sees like the good in her brother, and she's excited for him being Black Panther, but she also doesn't mind beating his ass, like letting him play around with the suit and letting him get hurt. Like, you know what I mean? She loves
what are those?
Yeah.
Yes.
And for me, I love that. That's good for me.
No, I thought it was dope also because like I said, everything that he got was because of her. You know what I mean? And it was like, and she was still like taking shots every so often. And she was unapologetically loud. She was gonna speak her mind. It's this big event. You know, is anybody gonna challenge today? She raises her hand. They looking at her like, what? She like, hey, I don't care. We need to hurry this up. I gotta take this off. This is tight, you know? Like, and that's what you get to hear. You get to hear her voice over all of these men and everything. It's like it's a beautiful thing. I never got to see movies like this that gave me this kind of feeling, even as a black man. So to understand that there are going to be children who are like 10, you know, and from this point forward, they're going to be able to watch this movie and see at least themselves at least once on screen out of the hundreds of black people on screen. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
Also, the cool thing I think about Shuri is like I think that they did a really good job on every single thing. First of all, humanizing all of these characters because once again, when it comes to like black women, they're always put off as aggressors. But you see her how she is a healer. Like she goes about and she's she's healing the way she heals the I can't think of the agent that was like trying to she was trying like the one that was
the Hobbit.
Agent Ross.
She brings him back, and she, regardless of these people that are trying to infiltrate within her kingdom, she is willing to. She doesn't want people to die either. She does everything within her lesson. You even see when she brings back Bucky.
Yep.
She's back there. She sees how she's bettering her kingdom on her own. Like she doesn't answer questions to anybody. She does stuff on her own. And she killed Bucky. I can't think of what the guy's name was, but she that's an important role for her too. Is kind of just not taking anything from anyone. Yeah, her brother's the king, but she kind of does what she wants.
Yep. And you remember she came through. Hey, she came through with the came through dumping. She was like, hey, I ain't just smart. I got these guns too.
Oh yeah.
She came through dumping. She was that's what I love about the women of Wakanda. They smart and they with the shit. And if you don't know what shit means, that means that you are willing to fight for those that you love. And you're not going to be disrespected. They were not here for the disrespect. And I love that. Like, they didn't have to be like, hey, look, I need to be seen. But anytime you saw them on screen, you paid attention to them. Like when they opened up the gateway to Wakanda and they were and they all like put their staff down at the same time. Like, I'm so happy the person who came up with those costumes got that Oscar, because to be able to do that, and Eric kind of touched on it. The point is, people think of Africa, they think of Africa like it's a country. No, that's a fucking continent. There's like 100 something odd countries in there. And there's like more languages. So that means you have all these different cultures. That means somebody had to go there and like listening to her and the director talk about this on the commentary is beautiful. They literally had to go through hundreds of different what's it called?
Dialects.
Yeah, not dialects. I'm talking about the things that they wear. The clothing. Yeah, all of that. They had to go through all of that to come up with what each and every person was gonna wear and what every kind of, because they're like tribes, but they're more sophisticated. So we're not going to call them a tribe, but you're going to know that they're the same group because they have the same stuff on. All that stuff, I've never really seen it like this on camera. She deserved that Oscar and she won. Damn it. I'm happy.
Good shit, guys. All right, so we're going to move on to the next topic. Who's going to be the next bad guy? Kind of a playoff to Billy English there. So, I'm very curious what you guys think. I don't know Black Panther's bad guys as well. It's rough that Killmonger's gone, and we can't exactly bring him back. That wouldn't really work. I've heard some theories about who would be the next bad guy for Black Panther 2. I also don't know if they've even touched the script or are considering writing one. I'm sure they're going to do something. I heard
they've greenlit it. They greenlit it. Yeah. Like, in fact, and I have an article I'll send to you later because I'm a nerd like that.
Yeah.
But they already brought on what's his name? Childish Gambino. What's his real name? Donald Glover. They brought him on to help out with the script, and they're talking about bringing him back for a character. So he's already the Prowler. So you have that aspect they can go with Spider-Man, the whole connection with there, because his name. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I've heard that they might. I've heard they're talking about Doctor Doom.
No, and there's a few. There's a few different ways they've already set it up where it can either be go to the Prowler because he is a part of that storyline, or during what was it, Endgame, they were talking about the ocean disturbance. That's Namor, and that's another person they can go they can go that direction too, or they can go because they're trying to bring the X-Men in. They can go the direction of trying to get the Fantastic Four and be Doctor Doom. In fact, they can do all of them. And knowing the MCU, they always figure out a way to bring people back. So they're already talking about possibly bringing back Killmonger because technically he got brought back in the comic too, because you never really did in Marvel.
Yeah, it's so much of that in too many things. Yeah, no one ever really dies in TV. Also, I was going to bring this up earlier. Whenever you throw someone off of a waterfall in a movie, they survive. That just happens like every single time. It happened in The Fugitive. It happened in Black Panther. It even happened in the movie Homeward Bound. That cat survived the fucking waterfall. No one dies from a waterfall.
Black Panther. He didn't even die in the waterfall.
Yeah, no one dies in a waterfall. I don't know what it is. You just make it. It's no big deal. Waterfalls aren't that a big deal. You know?
They were able to open it up on what was the last movie that they were able to open it up. Now everybody knows about Wakanda. Everybody knows about it. Like now, I mean, I feel like it gives us so many different scenarios because on why can't I think of the last movie that just came out where they come back from dying and everything, the last one. Endgame. I'm like, literally, like everybody knows what I'm talking about. But on Endgame, everybody knows where it is. So, I mean, now it's completely opened up to plenty of scenarios. I mean, 100 different elements. Everybody knows about vibranium. Everybody knows about this culture. So, I mean, that kind of is a big question. I feel like that there's going to be a lot of outside factors and a lot of outside figures that come in.
Yeah, I think a lot of different stuff's going to come in. They might incorporate, Anthony Mackie's Captain America in that. Maybe have them kind of do a thing, Black Panther and Captain America, I don't really know you that well. I don't know you that well. All right, let's jump over this bridge. Cool.
Another buddy cop film within the MCU.
Yeah,
they do that pretty often.
Yeah, maybe not do that. Because, man, Captain Marvel wasn't bad. It just wasn't like what we thought it was going to be. But it really did just end up being...
you gotta... I love you to death, man, but you gotta speak for yourself on that one.
Yeah,
because
I thought watching
Captain Marvel was dope as fuck to me.
Yeah.
In fact, it was everything I thought it was gonna be. Because you gotta think she was stuck in the 90s, because that's when everything happened. So I already knew that if it was gonna, and it kind of gave me the vibe of Ant-Man. So I was like, they're gonna go super. It's almost like one of my favorite movies down here, Last Action Hero. A lot of people didn't understand that it was meant to be a satire. It was like a spoof. Yeah. Of the entire, but it was really meta. A lot of people just thought it was going to be a straight up action movie, so they didn't understand what. I love it, but that's what I loved about Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel was so 90s. The music, the cheesy one-liners, the storyline that doesn't always really make sense. The beautiful people giving these cheesy one-liners. The backstory doesn't really make sense. It's so 90s, but
a lot of people aren't willing to let it go, though, because they don't like the fact that, the Avengers and the MCU starts with a woman.
No, you're right. I agree.
And that's a lot of underlying. And sometimes that's why I hate Reddit and I hate going to stuff, because I see the way that men think behind boards and behind keyboards. And a lot of people aren't willing to let that go. That's where it starts. That's where it is. That was the creation. I feel like there's a lot of thought behind that a lot of people aren't willing. First of all, it was a black and white woman, so culturally that's already a big deal there. But I just think that there's a lot that goes behind the fact that people didn't feel Captain Marvel was a success, and it has to do with just because Black Panther, these movies are made, doesn't mean that there's no racism and sexism behind any of the creators or behind any of the fans. in many of these movies.
Sure.
So, and when I watched Captain Marvel and you watch some of the comments, people were so, I mean, you read some of the comments, people were so rude about the little girl's daughter, the black woman's daughter. I cannot think of who she was in the movie. Just like you read some of the comments, you read some of the things that they say, and I just can't believe that that's the way that people think for no reason. It's just a movie. It's a superhero movie. It's just not even real, and it doesn't even exist. And people have so much hatred to the fact that they had a say in the MCU, the perfect world that they have created for themselves.
That's why I stay away from Reddit. Reddit is insane to me. The idea of like, hey, do you guys like all of the comments that people leave on Facebook? No, I don't like them. That's like the worst part of Facebook. I really only like the memes and the videos. Well, what if we took away the memes and the videos and had something just with the comments? Oh, well, I wouldn't want that. Well, we already made it. It's called Reddit. So here's the link to it. Don't send me the link. I don't want that at all. It's already on your computer, man. It's too late.
Reddit is a very scary universe to let yourself into. I can say, but also it does open a lot of topics and conversations that people write off or unwilling to speak about. There's just a lot of news and there's a lot of things that I found. Like I know it's hateful. Like when going back to Captain Marvel, like it was hateful because here I am excited about a movie that is pro-woman, like pro all this stuff, and then I read all these comments, and then in a way it gets to show me the real world.
No, you're right.
It does. No, and stuff like that. These movies are progressive. Black Panther is so progressive, but even going back to how we were saying, like there were people that are mad that Wakanda is one of the strongest planets, that everybody wants what's within this country. You know what I mean? Like there are people that are mad about it. We're sitting here, this movie is great for us, but the real world the inside of it is when you read this, that's not how everybody thinks.
Yeah.
And it's good to protect yourself. I mean, not on my end, it's good to I guess I love to live in this. I love to live in the world where we think that, how you were saying, like Black Panther is one of the greatest movies of our generation. I love to live in that world. And that did change a course of conversation for a lot of people. But it's also good to know that not a lot of people think that way.
Oh, no, absolutely. And that's why I say it. And that's why even like everything I do, and this is some next level shit, but everything I do, and that's why I love you. I love you, Era, but like everything I do is for a reason. Everything, even all the posters I have up here, because people will let you into a certain world and you get to really see how they think. And so, like, even with all this, I really believe in my heart of hearts that Black Panther is the greatest movie of our generation. Not only is it, but they will recognize it too. Everybody will recognize it. But going to what you were saying earlier about Captain Marvel, and this kind of hurts because I see this happening. You have already people before the movie even came out, people were upset that the strongest person in the MCU was going to be a woman. They were saying this way before the movie even came out.
Oh yeah.
So you already have that little drop that's always in people's ear. The only difference between this and Black Panther, where you had enough Black people, they were smart with every single thing they did. Even giving it to Ryan Coolidge, I believe his name is Coolidge. Coogler. Giving it to him after coming off of Fruitville Station. That is a statement.
Yeah.
The most pro-Black movie that came out at that time for a long time that was made by a Black American with nothing, that movie was a statement. So for having him direct the movie off top, you have people who don't give a shit about anything comic who are like, yo, I want to see what this is about. And then they saw Creed and was like, I really want to see what this is about. You know what I mean? They didn't have that doing Captain Marvel. Well, go ahead.
What I was like, how I was telling you earlier is they were able to take these movies. Like usually if you see a movie on a trailer and you see 12 Black people in it, it's a Black movie. Only Black people are going to go see it. It's a Cedric the Entertainer film. It's a Medea film, and it's been written off. And it is. And it has
to be. He in it somewhere. I agree.
And like it's like those don't potentially sell, but as I'm telling you, it had to deal with the people that he casted in the movie, and the fact that Marvel gave a Black director a movie. That's a big deal. That Marvel Disney gave Black that because they could have potentially turned this into a Black film where it would have not made a lot of money. It would have not had any competition. If they would, they put this movie at risk because Black films are not Disney films.
No, you're right.
Just be honest. But they, and that's why I tell it goes back to the people that they put in the film. Why women want to see Michael B. Jordan with his shirt off?
Agreed. They do.
That's real.
You're right.
That's
no, and Chris brings up a good point. Stan Lee did say before he died, and sure enough, he passed away right after that movie was made. But he said before he died, there will be a Black Panther movie. He knew when he created the X-Men.
Black person.
No. But he said that too, and that's why it was made. He said that's why they didn't make it. They had a chance to make that in the 80s, but they never made it because they were like, no, it needs to be a moment, and they held it for this very moment. Because I don't know if you've seen Creed, but if you watch it, that is a Rocky film. Black or not, you were cheering for him at the end of that movie. So Ryan, what is it? Coogler? Coogler. Yeah.
No word that sounds like that, so I can't really.
Right. That's why it's hard to remember. But he's so getting him to do it was just so genius because like Era said, you need to create a Black movie that isn't necessarily a Black movie because it can very easily go there. But after watching Creed, it was like, oh, he about to make one of the best movies I've ever seen. And I had no idea it was going to be like
it's the same. I mean, really, what do you think? And I think that that's why he was hired, I would say, as a director. And that concept is because, as I'm saying, this could have been a Black film. But no, I mean, it could have been. They were able to take a movie and a bunch of different themes that not everybody wants to watch.
Right, agreed.
That it potentially, honestly, made for us. They took these scenes and they made it. I wouldn't say watered down, but they did something that could have that was able to be a conversation piece for everybody.
No, agreed.
That's something that, I mean, honestly, that couldn't have happened. This could have been a Madea film. It really could have. It could have been something.
You're right. It could have.
And they could have actually made a joke of the whole, make a joke of the whole thing. It could have been like the least popular, superhero. I think about if it would have been the 80s, I'm thinking about who they could have even put as the Black Panther. Some people say, in the 90s, if they would, I remember I watched this thing of like, if they were recasting in the 90s, Wesley Snipes, Black Panther, or, Denzel Washington, like it makes it comical for me because I can't think of those men in those roles.
Especially at that time.
It wouldn't have worked at all.
They picked a perfect time. They picked a perfect people. They picked, and I do think that was on purpose.
Yes.
To have that right.
But then that's why I said Captain Marvel, and it almost goes back to the sexism. They almost set it up to fail. Yeah. Because it didn't have that same, like, if you would have said Captain Marvel was going to be made by like Ava DuVernay, because she was going to do Black Panther, but she ended up turning it down. I know she was. But anyways, like,
I'm kind of glad that she did.
It would have been a totally different movie.
It would have been a different movie.
Agreed. You kind of, and the good thing about Ryan is he even said it in the behind the scenes. He was like, he went and got the smartest women he knew to make that movie because he knew that like you couldn't you needed someone, and that's what he said. He had people around him to be like, no, that's that toxic masculine shit or whatever. You know what I mean?
Another thing I can say when we're going back to Captain Marvel is the main difference between how Wonder Woman was commercially successful and how Captain Marvel was commercially successful is because Wonder Woman was not made by women. It was not all women as much as Captain Marvel was.
Agreed.
Wonder Woman, I mean, straight up, out every single woman on that movie. Yes, they made them powerful, but they were sexualized. Women don't fight in outfits. Your hair is not going to be down. Your titties are not going to be out. If I'm fighting, I need everything held down. I need my hair up. I'm not going to look sexy when I'm fighting. And they made Captain Marvel so it wasn't sexy. And I mean, it's the same thing with what is the movie that they did for how everybody was so excited about the character and Margot Robbie's character in Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah. Birds of a Prey, but it was still sexualized.
Right, but when they did a whole woman ran movie unsexualized, that movie was not commercially acceptable either. It was just like people were like, no, we want to see her titties. Like that this is not gonna fly here. And I even think about how, to me, like, once again, I love Captain Marvel, but
I did too.
It didn't come out as successful, and it kind of also reminds me of how the difference between it's still too progressive to do all women things. It's just not. People are not it's still too progressive for a mainstream audience to have something that's just full on women to be ran
Thing
by women.
is, you gotta set them up. Go ahead. What'd you say, Era?
It's just too progressive. It's not time. I mean, think about how we are still not able to have a woman president, regardless of how people think that they're strong. We had a Black president first before a white woman, because no one's ready for that. That is still too progressive. Too how like men have these ideals, and it goes back to how I talked about what I said on Reddit. Like it was a male ran dominated thing, and even though that movie had nothing to do with me, when I read those comments about something like that, it shuts me down completely. I feel completely like that we're not as progressive as we think we are. Black Panther does show some steps, because as I said, it did make it more acceptable, and people are so excited about it, and people do see, even people who are not Black see themselves within these roles, and they're excited and they want to talk. But Captain women things like that, that's not, men don't want to relate to that. They don't want to, they're not ready. That conversation is not ready yet. It's still too far. It's too far off.
The one thing
I was going to say, just not as far off as we once thought it was, though.
Yeah, not as far off.
We're getting way closer now.
But this is what's happening, because they even bring it up in Black Panther. What's happening is the gatekeepers are dying, because you're not hearing people in our in our age range. Yes, there's a little bit of toxic masculinity, a lot more, but we had the Kanye's, we had the what's it called, Andre 3000s, while they still had trap music. But now these little kids are growing up with skinny jeans. They grown up with their rappers are talking about crying on songs. You see what I'm saying? So these kids now are ready for a woman. And I think great example, 2024 AOC. I will almost bet everything I will end up possibly making. I will bet that if she does not become president, it was on some Bernie fuck shit, because we still have way too many gatekeepers that don't want to lose the power, because there's way too many people. What sucks right now is it's a beautiful thing that George Floyd is the reason why all these great things are people are, but you still have Breonna's killers who are walking free. But a lot of these movements are only moving because women are out there.
Yeah.
And I was out there. I saw it. It's women who are out there screaming, and you have men, because it's still sexualized, trying to protect these women. But these women, and that's why I fucking love it. And that's why I'm talking my shit all over Facebook about it, and the men are already mad, because it is changing. And I'm not just saying that to kind of shut people, but it's because you have the media that is ran. That's why I love movies like Bombshell. You have the media that's being ran by all these older people, but just like in Black Panther, they're dying. And when they die, it's gonna be people like me who they're gonna be looking to, and I'm gonna be like, just like T'Challa, I'm gonna be like, Era, what's good? Yeah, like I always do.
That's because these conversations now are starting, and it's good to have them. Yeah. But that, as I said, that's something that movie was just a year ago. Like, you can still pull it up. Like, I mean, that stuff and these are things that women are having to deal with on the daily, even as we see, even just going back to Black Panther, we talk about how that country is literally, their whole army is women. That's it. Like, it's all women.
No, agreed. That's the whole army.
The Black Panther is their glory. But women, and that kind of shows you also how it is within our world. Like, the women are your forefront. The women are here. They're fighting. They're speaking. They're doing your name. Even when she's like, my loyalty is my country. Like, she's sitting, like, even when they're like
fighting,
Black women are literally the cornerstone. Like, and I just think about like how some people were, I mean, it just goes back to, I think about Harriet Tubman all the time. Mm-hmm. How she talks about that there were some people that she could not take with her, that there were some people that were not ready for what she goes on. And people, that's why sometimes our movements aren't good. Sometimes there aren't, because there's not a lot of unity. People are willing to have women sit out of the conversation, or honestly, not just women. I think about within the Black community. I think about how gay people are left out of the conversation, how trans people are left out of the conversation. Mm-hmm. And how can we say that Black Lives Matter when you're not caring about your gay brothers and sisters, your trans brothers and sisters, things like that? And that's what completely shuts down these movements, is there's dissension within it. And there's people that you cannot take We can go all these steps forward. We can
Right.
go all steps forward with fighting. But if you're not willing to go back and get Killmonger, if you're not willing to go back and get it, it's going to dismantle every single thing.
But just like you said though,
go back and get it.
no, but just like you said, some people aren't ready. But what's changing is these people are dying off, and now it's to the point where if you want anything, like people are losing their jobs just from being like, well, what if Black lives don't really matter? Lose your job. That's what's happening now. It's like, even to have an inkling of an idea that maybe it's not, you losing everything. So whether people are changing because they really believe it, or they're changing because they're trying to like save their own livelihood, change is happening. And that's what I fucking love. The people with power are losing it at great speeds. And that's why they're doing all these things to try to keep the division, because truth be told, we're trying to include gays. Who are the people who are keeping the gays out the conversation? Our parents and the people before them, because they had heritage.
If we're going to be real, it's not just older people.
No, but no, you're right. But that's
their teachings. It's the teachings within it.
But that's what I'm saying.
Say that it's just like the older people. There are a lot of people who are willing to leave that conversation open as well. We have to be honest.
No. But that's the point I'm making, saying that people are losing their.
I even think about, that's one of the things that I had to unlearn myself. Like, I come from a mixed family. My mom, I grew up with my white side of my family, not my black. And my mom even taught me internalized racism. I was even racist against my own cousins who grew up in the hood more. I had things that I thought I had to say. I'm like, why don't they just read? Why don't they just act like this? And that's something that was taught into me, and I almost internalized. I had hatred towards myself for being black because my family was fairer than me. My cousins were white. I thought that this was different. That's not something that's being older. That's stuff that sometimes, I mean, you're a product of your environment. When I tell you that I hadn't seen a full cast of dark black women like that, I'm 27 years old. My whole life, I'd never seen that. And I always felt like that I was less than. Those are things that not just old people are teaching, but society is constantly telling you over and over and over again.
But that's the point I'm making, is that people are losing their jobs. People are losing their jobs for believing this stuff. That's what I'm saying, that didn't happen before. So whether it's people are truly changing, or people are like, I don't want to lose my job, they have to change. People are losing their jobs for doing it. People who are like, well, I've seen it happen. Well, George Floyd had a record. Remember, he got caught selling drugs, fired. Like no conversation. People are losing entire livelihoods. So I do agree with you. There are a lot of problematic people on every age level, but now no one's accepting it. Period.
It's dying off, and it's beautiful to see that it is dying off. And I do agree with what you're saying, Tremaine. You're basically saying, people are. It's get down or lay down. We're pretty much no longer accepting. White people, especially older white people, some like to use the argument, well, hey man, freedom of speech. Let me tell you something. I am 33 years old, and I have lived in this country my whole life, and I will tell you, nothing in this country is for free, especially speech. There is a consequence whenever you say anything. All right, there's a consequence when you say something that everyone agrees with, and there's a consequence when you say something that you believe that may be wrong. They're just consequences. So if you're willing to accept those, then that's fine. But you might lose your fucking job in the process of it. So, if you don't want to be behind what we're standing for, if you don't believe in what the Black Lives Matter movement is for, if you don't believe what the whole point of Black Panther was about, you can go ahead and have those thoughts, but understand that there will be horrible, horrible consequences, like you not being able to pay your mortgage next month. Yeah. So
I guess in my theory is I just really want people to truly not just see like that inside box of what that is, but I mean the whole thing, like that it is, if you're not willing to get that your whole people, all of our people on the same accord,
right?
We are going to dismantle it. I mean, we can't sit here and argue that Black Lives Matter, that this is our kingdom, if we're not willing to. I mean, we have to. I mean, I'm glad that now that people are willing to speak up, and as you're saying, that this is not people losing their jobs, people are, but we have to keep going with that.
Agreed.
there has to be more.
We have to speak up. You have to see what's uncomfortable. And you have to be willing to see things from other people's side of the story, from other people's sides, and things that don't interest you. Like one of the things I never really understood was the whole like trans movement. That's something I never did. That's something I never grew up around. But I watched Pose and I watched Disclosure on Netflix. And that was something that's not my world. But after watching my people like that, someone shutting down my people opened my eyes to something way bigger.
Right.
I'm going to speak. I want to speak up for the voices. I don't want anybody to be left behind out of that movement.
Agreed.
That can completely ruin everything we stand for. So if there's something that's uncomfortable within it, you have to educate yourself.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I agree with you. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm fighting for the same thing. You know how I do. That's my whole job. Is like fighting for this. So I agree with you. What were you saying, Carter?
For anyone who isn't friends with Tremaine Bradley on Facebook, you're missing out. Because oh man, does he show up for everyone, and so does Era Juliet. Like they make sure that you get the whole picture. And it's very important. Me, I'm just like posting like, just dick jokes and stupid memes and TikTok videos. But those are important too. They're going to change this country. It's important to see. But yeah, I think we really brought this thing to a nice full circle. Guys, if you're enjoying the show, enjoying what we are talking about and enjoy our work, please make sure to send us our money, because we are sad, lonely, very poor comedians, and we need it because we don't have real jobs. Please send money at Venmo at BL Comedy, or you can do it on the Cash App. That's $$, Big Laugh Comedy. All donations will be divided between the talent and the production team. This has been, I think, one of my favorite episodes of Geek'd Out so far. I just love just sort of sitting back sometime and just letting the commentators commentate. It's just really great. And obviously, it's one of my favorite movies that we've talked about so far. I want to thank Era Juliet and Tremaine Bradley so much for being on the show. I definitely will have you guys on again. I'm not even sure what we're going to be doing next week, but we'll be talking about some geeky shit. Guys, this has been Geek'd Out. We talked about Black Panther. I've been Carter Anderson, and we will see you next time.